Hi, everybody. Welcome to another Chats with Geordie. I hope you're safe and well. Today, I'm carrying on my Reflection and Forecast 2024-25 interview series, where I sit down with senior C-suite executives to get their feedback on the last year and also get their predictions for this year. And today, I'm delighted to join my good friend, Daniel DeAlmeida, who is the VP at ZONTAL for product management and marketing, if I get my teeth in the right way around. And we're going to learn a bit more about ZONTAL, but also get his views on how the market was in 2024 and what his predictions are for this year. So, Dan, first of all, it's lovely to see you. How are you?
I'm doing well. Good to see you too, Rizwan.
Well, it's good to see you, my friend. Now, for people not familiar with ZONTAL, maybe we can just give viewers, first of all, a quick overview of who the company is and what you do as an organization.
Sure. We are, for lack of a better term, a digital preservation system, which essentially means that we ingest data from various sources and data producers, and then we normalize that data and put it into a standard. From there, you can access the data and visualize it in different ways. So we are API first, which allows you to put your best of breed tools on top of that, or you can use our internal visualizations. Essentially, it is an evolved scientific data management system, right? So the ability to look at it, what's different about it is really that we are taking it from the perspective of data being free. It is yours. And so for us to preserve that for long time purposes, it needs to stay in that fair format, right? And allow us to export that into a JSON. So we use Allotrope, the Allotrope Foundation's Allotrope simple model as a backbone. And again, all the data is there. It is accessible by the customers for them to use it in any which way they want to. Um, we continue to extend our offerings in different ways, but I'll pause there for now.
Oh, fantastic. All right, well, look, I'm sure we'll touch upon it a bit more actually when we start talking about some of the achievements and so on for Zontal. Now, um, last year was an interesting year for many different organizations across the life science and pharma segment. And I've interviewed quite a few people as part of this series, and everyone's had slightly different views. But from your perspective, looking back at 2024, how would you describe it in one word and why?
One word, transformative, right? Why? I think we saw the impact of an interesting technology, right? And ChatGPT came out a couple of years back, and last year everyone was running to figure out what their roadmaps were that would incorporate AI, right? And I say that because it's a very loaded term these days.
Right, well, that's an interesting point. So, what do you define as AI or using AI? Then I suppose that'd be a good way to start because obviously people have different interpretations of what they actually mean by AI as well.
Yeah, it's interesting, right? With generative AI to me, with GPT is it's very powerful, right? It's awesome. I use it all the time. It is creative. When I think of AI, if we break down the two words, artificial intelligence, um, personally, I don't see a lot of intelligent systems out there that wait for people to ask it to do something, right? So to me, interpretively, artificial intelligence wouldn't wait for someone to do something and ask it to do something. There's no animal in the world that's just going to sit out there waiting for you to say, go, go drink some water right now, or run away. So when I look at what we're doing for AI, it is very creative, it's very powerful. I'd like to see it a little bit more active and a little less passive. If we think of it in terms of, I'm a movie guy. If we think of in terms of movies, people think of AI like The Matrix or Terminator, if you want to be a little bit more dreadful there. Um, we're sort of at war games right now. If you remember the 80s movie with
Yeah.
war games where you sit
Sadly,
in
I'm
front
old
of
enough
a
to remember it when it first came out. Anyway, yeah.
yeah, sitting in front of a monocolor screen and typing in text and playing tic-tac-toe, right? That's sort of where we are with AI. I'm not saying that there's not a lot of great tools and powers out there, people working on amazing projects, but I think the noise right now in the AI field, we're very, very early in where we need to be to achieve what people's visions of everything that AI should do.
Well, that's interesting. Or maybe we'll touch on a bit more when we start talking about challenges and trends actually in the
Sure.
last year or so. Now, from a Zontal's point of view, though, as you said, as a business, you sort of store other people's data. But what are some of the core achievements then from your perspective, from Zontal's perspective in 2024? What are some of the things that you'd like to highlight to viewers?
Yeah, I think it's an interesting transition from the AI discussion, right? Whether people consider it a happy accident or they realize this was a data strategy all along. One of the big powerful things about AI is actually having your data in a good way, right? If you have bad data and you put it into an AI system or an LLM or some model, you're going to get bad results. So the entire focus of ZONTAL was to make sure the data has the correct metadata on it, context. It is linked and has lineage to the proper data sets that it needs to relate to. It has the original source of data that's immutable, and it is put out in a standard format to make it easier to model, right? So all of those things prepare it for AI readiness, which is, it's been the traction all along with ZONTAL. Last year we did, from a non-technical perspective, we really did a brand transformation. I think one of the biggest challenges we had was no one really was aware of what ZONTAL was capable of or the company, right? So you've seen a lot of traction. We launched a new website to give more information to our customer base in the industry to understand what we can achieve with our tools. We did launch a chemistry awareness capability. So now in your data, you can look at structured data. You can search for chemical structures, substructures, et cetera, alongside all the other data records. We also launched, I think, what is really powerful, a universal ELN archive capability.
Right.
So that changes things from just looking at archiving instrument data, and now you're looking at an entire experiment record. So we're actually able to archive entire ELNs and have a universal viewer, probably the first universal viewer for ELN data as an archive solution. So we're doing that with multiple mainstream ELNs. We ingest it and you look at it in ZONTAL. So you can actually decommission that original ELN full-time, right? And it's great for mergers and acquisitions. It's great for IP protection, consolidation, whatever you want to do. Lots of powerful capabilities there. We did a joint working group, or we did a draft model for experiment data for allotrope as well. And we did that in collaboration with Merck. And now the Allotrope Foundation has picked that up as a working group to continue on modeling that. Again, continue this standard concept on how do we define our data in this industry for reusability.
No, that's really interesting. One question that comes to mind is that, is there a standard out there now for the industry for data? Because there are so many companies who actually obviously collect data and store data and interpret data, but is there an industry standard out there for data collection, let's put it that way, so that people can interpret the data?
There's several, right? It's sort of a pick your flavor type of situation right now. I think we're seeing some uptick in the Allotrope Foundation standards. There's been Animal around for many years. There's been CELA. There's different standards for different means. The flexibility is there. I think what is good is to see the industry desiring that standardization, right? It's whether they pick one, maybe we'll go back to Betamax versus VHS.
Yeah, I was going to say, yeah.
and try to go back to that movie analogy there. We'll see where we end up, but right now I like the direction we're going.
Great. Now let's talk about some of the challenges in the marketplace. But it has been a really interesting year. It was an interesting year in 2024, both from a sort of investment point of view for many segments of the market, as well as many other things in geopolitical and so on. So from your perspective, what have you seen as been some of the biggest challenges for the market in 2024? Obviously, AI has been one, you touched upon that, but what have been some of the major challenges from your perspective, given that you deal with the many, many companies across the sector to actually collect their data?
Yeah, I think the AI one has been massively distracting, right? People are looking at it from a perspective of, I need to use AI, I need to use it now. I don't know why, but this is all the direction, right? This can be super efficient, and it absolutely has been for marketing, right? I mean, it's one of the one of the biggest impacts that we've had is from a marketing perspective, but people not understanding the use cases of what they want to do with their data, I think is a big challenge, right? We've seen that for many years. If you think of SDMS, and then we went to data lakes, and now people are doing these larger systems like ZONTAL, and they know they want to collect the data, but they don't have solid use cases. And defining those use cases to achieve a goal is probably the most important thing. So AI, I know I keep jumping back on it, but it's caused so much noise in the projects that were already there, that they've defunded some of these projects and now they've shifted focus. And again, it's a more of a race right now to understand, get to the end result, which is create my next blockbuster drug. But I don't know how to get there because I don't have the data. I don't have the tools. I don't have all the lineage that I need to understand even what's good data, what's bad data, what's good results. How do I improve my efficiencies there? I keep pushing back to that one. And, with this push for AI, I think people have prematurely defunded some things, expecting the slack to be picked up because we'll just be more efficient. We have AI now, right? So we can save costs now because eventually we'll figure out how to be more efficient with AI. And I think there's a little chicken and egg situation going on at the moment.
That's interesting. Now, obviously, AI is a massive trend, as you said, as we started off this whole conversation talking about ChatGPT and how that's a big trend. Um, Apart from AI, though, what other trends have you seen in the marketplace? And also, I've spoken many times over the years, and we've talked about digital transformation. So, are we at that stage now within the life science pharma sector where you can say that digital transformation is something that is accepted and is now widespread, or is it still some reticent of companies now sort of moving into digital transformation, whatever that would mean to them in particular?
Yeah, I do see a trend that people are getting away from the acronyms, right? When you think of LIMS, ELNs, LES, STMS, we have alphabet soup out there when it comes to what we categorize our products as. And what I'm seeing is people are considering these more as features than full products. People are now talking about, and I hate to overuse the word platforms, which is just a collection of functionality that is really doing there. Whether they're using the word platform properly or not is a whole different situation. But I do see that trend that people are looking for larger solutions to solve bigger challenges at their organizations, right? It's not just, well, I've spun up a new lab, I need a new ELN, and therefore I'll just buy this one and it'll be done with. They're looking at it from a global perspective. If I find a solution for data management, I'll just pick, ZONTAL space. How do I use this across my entire organization? How does it fit into my ecosystem? And what can I operationalize and what can I make more efficient? And it's not just follow we need an ELN, we need a LIMS, we need an STMS, and then we'll plug all those things in and we'll figure it out later. They're taking a step back and saying, what's the overall solution that we're gonna change our organization with and we're gonna maintain for years to come? And where does it get us in 5 to 10 years?
Great. Now, looking ahead to this year, again, I know we're into, well, a scary thought. We're coming towards the end of February already, actually.
Yeah.
But from your perspective, having spoken to people and seen what's going on in the marketplace, obviously there's been a change of government in the US as well. How optimistic are you from a market perspective of 2025? Because there's still a lot of uncertainty out there, isn't it, at the moment?
There is. I think I'm very optimistic. I'll start there.
That's a
Let's
good
just
start.
answer that question. Yeah. I'm
And why are you
typically
why are you optimistic then? Let me ask you that then.
I think I'm typically optimistic in general. So maybe that's just my personality. But from a technology perspective, I think we're going to start seeing people um, calling out the hype, right? And want facts and want data-driven decisions on what we're doing, right? And again, I think we're starting to see it with AI agents. People, to go back to that passive active situation, people are saying, oh, well, it just sits there. And what do I do with this? I think agents is the next big overflooded term because most people are using the term as a replacement for automation. Agents is something that's probably started 20 30 years ago. If you look at AI, and I think it was originally called distributed artificial intelligence, and there's a whole slew of information on that, right? But I think people are going to start calling out, okay, if we are actually going to go into an AI direction, what does that mean? How does that improve our organization? And I'm seeing it now, right? People are solidifying their use cases. People are solidifying challenges they're having, and they're pulling back a little bit on is it AI? Is it just an LLM I need? Is it more data prediction and analytics and statistics? So I'm very optimistic that we're going to start demystifying some of what has been out there and disrupting some of the conversations that we've had.
Right. And well, you've sort of touched upon my second question, which is really if you're looking at what trends you think might emerge in 2025, I mean, what are some of the key trends you think are likely to emerge this year, having seen what's happened last year?
Yeah, it's I think it's really what I was just mentioning, right? It's people wanting facts on what's the, and one of the things we've always been judged on is ROI, right? What's my return on investment for this? It's not just a race to be the first person to deploy something. I don't know why that suddenly became such an interesting thing to do. But people are going to start asking, what's the ROI on this AI? Yeah, it can do a lot of great things when it comes to taking notes and summarizing words. But and it's don't get me wrong, I've seen some great things. If you look at the AlphaFold challenge, um, it helped there. But um, without without the right direction, it's just going to be an exciting lab of the future project. When I think of lab of the future, 10 years ago, AR dropped with Google Glass. And um, if we want to do a parallel to AR to AI, where suddenly they had all these prototype visions out there that you could walk into a lab, you could put on your glasses, you knew everything about everything that was going on in the lab, right? Everyone was very excited. People were buying Google Glass left and right. In the commercial space, the consumer space is a little different. Then they realized how hard it was to model all of that data, right? So I need to know if my instrument's out of calibration. I need to know exactly what its IDs are. I need to know where it's geographically located. I need to know where my samples are, all the sample metadata in there. I need to know if I move a sample, check it in and out. Where does it go? Does it go to an instrument, right? So all of that is data driven. And then on top of that, people started calling out AR and started calling it mixed reality, right? And again, I'm giving a big parallel because it's interesting. Where we see AI and then we see AI agents, we saw AR and it didn't achieve the vision. Then they started saying, oh, well, what we meant was mixed reality, right? And mixed reality was now you get to interact with things in the real world. And that was the true vision of AR at the beginning, right? So fast forward 10 years, AR is not in a lab for many reasons. I've seen some people using glasses here and there for manufacturing, but the performance, the data modeling, all of that behind it was difficult to achieve the big vision. And I think we're starting to see that much faster with AI. I think there's still a big leap we can do, but people are coming to the realization quicker with this than I think they did originally with some of the technology they put out there. Maybe it's the hype trend that it exploded onto the market very quickly, and now it might slow down just as quickly um, from the hype perspective. I think there's a reality, right? I'm being very cautious there because I know a lot of people are going to say, no, AI is so important, and I agree. If we do it right, it will be a huge industry game changer, but we just need to filter out the noise.
One question I'm going to ask you is that, I mean, and this may be a bit of a sticky question to ask, but it's a bit political, but obviously the NIH have lost a lot of funding this year out of the blue, which is going to have an impact on labs and the research they do. So
Yes.
it's a terrible situation to be in, and I've got sympathy with everybody who's been affected. From a business perspective, though, do you think that will hurt or help the acceptance of digital transformation and the use of uh, coordinating the data because there has to be greater efficiency because you've got less people there within the lab?
Um, I think it'll do both, right? Emotionally, as humans, it'll hurt
Of
because
course.
people will think about it, right? But yes, it'll drive people to try to be more efficient, right? If you take away some of the dependencies on manual interactions, then people will look for other means to be more efficient. And digital transformation is one of those ways, right? It's not just about giving them a tool, but it's giving them a reason to use the tool.
Right. Okay. Now, what can we expect from Zontal in 2025? And when I ask this question, I always smile because I wonder how much people are going to reveal about what, what their plans are for this year, because it's a bit of a loaded question. You may not want to share everything that you're obviously going to do this year, but what can we expect from you guys in 2025?
Yeah, so yes, there's a part that I will not tell you, but yes, I think one of the great things that you're going to start seeing is, for those who aren't aware, Zontal is part of Bruker, um, and we are part of a Bruker organization called SCIY, SCIY, right? So SCIY is a group of companies that Bruker has acquired from the software space to help in a variety of different ways. So what you'll see this year is a closer collaboration with our SCIY sibling companies, Lab, Optimal, Logs, ArcSpan, and a closer synergy with how we interact with Bruker's instruments, which is interesting because we will continue to be agnostic.
I was going to ask
But
that
we
very
will,
question, but yeah, you just
yeah,
beat me to it.
we do want to be agnostic, right? Even though we are part of Bruker, we are universal and agnostic in our technologies, and that is part of why we're in STI, right? It's an umbrella company that allows us to work independently and serve the industry. So we're working on some technologies that will bring all of the tools together in an optimized way to really help deliver what people are asking for.
Right. Well, that's a really interesting thing, and it's great to talk to you, Sam, and it's a really interesting conversation. Now, obviously, the other thing I should flag out to everybody is that I saw Dan in San Diego in January with a lab automation show. Now, I'm going to see him in Boston next week at PittCon, which you're also exhibiting there. So if people are going to be attending PittCon next week, where can they find you, and have you got any activity or posters or presentations planned for next week?
Yeah, we'll be at booth 2414.
Well
So
remembered.
yeah, it'll be good to see you again, Rizwan, and see everyone there. We're going to be focusing on our ELN capabilities. I think it is underestimated right now what we can do there, and I think it's time for us to have those conversations with companies. I'll be joined by a couple of different folks, so please join us at the booth and have some conversations. We'll all have a variety of different specialties, if you will, and we're more than willing to talk about data management, chromatography, ELN archiving, et cetera. But yeah, it'll be great. I think it's our first PittCon, it'll be interesting to see where we go.
Yeah, well, it's my first one since 2020, so it'll be interesting for me as well. So there you go,
Yeah,
viewers. If you'd like to learn more about Zontal and all the different technologies and solutions that Zontal can offer you, then check out the link above this video. But more importantly, if you happen to be in Boston next week, go to PittCon. The link will be above the video here, and catch up with Dan and the rest of the team and speak to them in person. You can also obviously connect with Dan on LinkedIn and ask him any question you've got, particularly relating to AI, as we've spoken about it quite in depth this afternoon. But anything else you may or may not disagree with, put them in the comments below. I'm sure Dan, we'd delight to see your views on what you think the situation is in relation to AI. So Dan, it's good to see you, my friend. I look forward to seeing you next week in Boston. And viewers, thank you for watching. Until next time, as always, stay well and stay safe. Bye bye.
thanks all.